Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Shooting the with Yankee. And as usual, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. Tonight we're going to talk about waiting periods. What are they for? Do they do any good or are they dangerous? And I don't mean dangerous as in the government is trampling on our rights as citizens. I mean dangerous in an actual right now you can see the danger kind of way, like a personal danger to the person that's having to wait. Waiting periods were originally sold as, hey, if someone's going to commit a crime of passion, like their wife divorces them or something, and they're going to go to their job and shoot them up or something, well, they won't do it because they'll have to go buy the gun and then they'll have to wait. And during that time, they'll cool off because, no one stays mad more than like a week, period. No one holds a grudge or anything. But that's the way they were sold, that they would actually help save lives. And do they save lives? No, of course they don't. Because if you look at the people who commit crimes, especially crimes of passion, it's usually people who've never committed a crime and don't go buy the gun that day or that week to do it. Most cases, if people did buy the gun to actually go commit a crime, it's usually they bought the gun a couple of months ago because they want to plan and scheme and be prepared. And they want to savor it, I guess. So the statistics just don't back up that fact that people go out and buy a gun and immediately commit a crime. And here's another thing. Most of the people who do that, crimes of passion, they've already owned the gun for quite a while before they commit the crime of passion. So statistically speaking, waiting periods have never saved anyone. There's never an indication that they've ever been anything positive for anybody. One thing they did do is increase the expenses for gun shops, because now not only do you have to have room for your inventory that you haven't sold yet, you have to have room for your inventory that you have sold. And you have to have special ways to contain those guns that are already sold so that they don't get stolen or anything. So it was a big expense for gun dealers and another type of overhead for them, which seems to always be kind of the intent with a lot of these laws, to hurt gun dealers because they want them out of their states. But not only that, these things are provably dangerous to the people that have to wait, because almost never does anyone go out and buy a gun because they want to commit a crime that day or tomorrow? But you know what people do? They go out and buy a gun because they've been threatened. Maybe they're the wife or the girlfriend, because let's face it, most crimes of passion are going to end up with a woman being dead. Women don't tend to commit a lot of those crimes. So when we talk about violent domestic crime, 98% of it we're talking about men. And that's not a true statistic right there, but it tells you where we're at, really. Women just don't do that. Women kill you slowly, sometimes over decades of nagging and putting you down and, just emotionally destroying you. Men tend to be more violent. And here's another thing. If a man decided tomorrow, hey, my wife left me, is going to leave me, or she's cheating on me, I'm going to kill her. I can't buy a gun. Well, I guess I'm not going to be able to do it for a week. And then after a week, I'm fine now, I'm not going to do it. Doesn't make sense. They'll use their hands. They'll use a bat. They'll use whatever's around. That's the thing. Men are more violent and they're bigger and stronger. Now, that might not happen in like Arkansas or Mississippi, where most of the women have about 200 pounds on most of the men. But in most of the country, the man is going to use something else other than a gun. They don't need to go out and buy a gun for it. And in Arkansas and Mississippi, if you want to make it safer for the females that are in danger of that, just put a waiting period on elephant guns that men go out and buy to take care of their wives or girlfriends. But as far as the safety side of it, a lot of these women that are going to be the victims of violence, they can't get their gun for defense. There's a woman in Seattle. Her husband threatened her, said he was going to kill her, told her exactly how he's going to kill her. She went to the police. The police basically said, well, we can't do anything until he actually breaks the law. Because that's the way it is when it's just you and me. They got to break the law. When the people were threatening CEOs, it's like, if you threaten them, we're going to come get you and put you in jail. They didn't say, oh, you got to actually commit a crime first. No, that was, you're threatening the powers that be. You got to go to jail. But they told her, can't put him in jail till he actually commits a crime. 2 days later, after she went and purchased her gun, was waiting for the time period to expire, he attacked her in her driveway and strangled her. And that's not an isolated incident. You can find dozens of incidents like that. Now, it's not like, oh my God, there's thousands. I'm not going to pretend like there's thousands of women dying because of the waiting period. But, if it happens 2 or 3 times, that's too many. Because they aren't stopping any crime. They aren't saving any lives, but they're costing lives. They often say, if it saves just one life, don't you think we should pass this law, even though it's unconstitutional? Well, how about if it saves 7 or 8 lives, we should repeal this law that is actually unconstitutional anyway. I think that argument makes a lot more sense. So background checks do nothing except for harm retailers and make it hard for women to defend themselves when they find themselves in a situation, or a man, but mostly women, where they need a gun right away because they're being threatened and now they can't get it. Doesn't do anything positive, just negative. I'm currently on a 10-day wait right now myself for a gun. So let's go over here and look, see what people are saying. If anybody's got anything to say over here. John Heasley, and remember, I want this chat to be more about your all's opinions than mine. So come to the live chats every night, 6 p.m., except for Wednesdays when they're at 7 p.m., and have your opinion read. Get involved in the conversation. Like I said, I want this to be about your opinions. Everybody knows my opinions. John Heasley has said, there's no waiting period in Ohio. It's great. We didn't used to have one here either, and it was nicer. It was nice to be able to go in, buy something, and go home with it that day. I miss those days. Ghost Shadow said, read my next message, which I have to read his next message here. Waiting periods are a massive waste of time and money. FFL has inventory stuck on shelves, taking up space that could be used for new inventory that could be sold. Yeah, it's a burden on the retailers. And it's always funny how all these laws they write usually end up being a burden on the retailers. It's like they want to run them out of business. Mikey D said 72 hours for what you're allowed to get here. I think he's in Illinois. So 72-hour wait there. That's less than what we got. We have 2 weeks. It's 10 business days, but it's going to be 2 weeks because of that, because you got the weekends attached to it. If you buy it on the wrong day, it's 16 days, 2 weeks, 2 days. So yeah, we got a horrible waiting period here. That's one of the things I really want to see gone. I want to see that gone more than I want to see the assault weapons ban gone, and assault weapons, because it affects me more. Now, I want to see them both gone. I don't just fight against things that affect me. You all know I fight against laws all the time that aren't going to harm me at all, but it harms other people. So I don't agree with the infringement just because it hurts somebody else and not me. But that one pisses me off. I want it gone. Mr. Furley said, waiting periods are dangerous and dumb. Yeah, they're dangerous for the people. They're good for the state, I guess. The bearded hamster said, had a therapist make the cooling off argument. Yeah, the cooling off doesn't really work in these cases, because it would be one thing if there were people going out buying guns and immediately committing crimes with them. If there was a statistic to back that up, they could make the argument. But then you could make the argument of, is it a significant number of people? Is there no other way they could have murdered them? I'm sure there is. Also, is it worth it to violate your constitutional rights, to give away your freedom to protect a few people? Do we take away every freedom just to make sure that everybody has the perception of safety, which they don't have? It's just not a very good argument. Pennsylvania, no wait period, and wait is dangerous. Yes, the wait is definitely dangerous. I agree. We got Gunwebs here, and he's going to be in the following chat. If you're here live, make sure to stick around for the Shooting Left to Center podcast that will be filmed right after this. He says, victims often are buying guns for the first time. Waiting periods restrict them from owning tools to effectively defend themselves from aggressors. That was a more eloquent way of saying what I stumbled through, actually. Paul B, how do they investigate death while waiting? How often do they investigate? Well, I don't know an exact number on it, but I remember one time I did a video on it, and just from a rudimentary internet search, I was able to find 7 different cases in 2 years that mentioned that the person had tried to buy a gun, was on a waiting period, and then was murdered by their spouse, usually, or boyfriend. So I was able to find 7 that were, verifiable. You could find the court record, find the media records, etc. of it. And that was just searching the internet. So I can't say that it's more than 7, but I'm assuming if I found 7, it's more than that. But even if it's just 7, that's more than enough. And that was Paul B that just asked that question there. Let's see here. The bearded hamster, 1979. I was just a little tack back then. What was I, 12, 13 years old, something like that. Therapists are low-key the biggest threat to 2A right now. therapists do have a very negative opinion of guns, but therapists I found are usually the people that have the least acceptance of reality. Having been one, most of you know my degree's in psychology. A lot of my career was worked in psychology, and the prevalent feeling in a lot of places and with a lot of psychologists is if we just took people's tools away, they'd never do bad things. And I'm like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's like before, you know what? We go back to caveman days. You take away rocks when they bash each other in the head with rocks. We wouldn't have had anybody commit murders if you took the rocks away. But yeah, you would. We found creative new ways to murder. Hell, they would have invented fire just to be able to set each other's caves on fire because they had a strong desire to murder people that weren't like them. So that's a ridiculous argument. And like I say, therapists are the last people I want to go to for realistic takes on reality and the law. The only other worst place to go about the law is police. But that looks like that's it. Everybody weighing in for today. I want to thank everybody for coming and having a say. I'm glad to see most people agree with me once again. Seems like I'm always right. Or at least I am when I'm preaching to the audience here. But if you disagree with me, like I said, make a point to come. Don't let me get away with it. Come in here. Let me know what your opinions are on these topics. I would love to hear from you. Hope to see you at one of our future chats. Like I said, every night, 6 p.m. Pacific time, except for Wednesdays when they're at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Hope to see you at one of those. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.